Hey, good evening, everybody. If you landed here with us, we welcome you to the Be On Air Forum. We are so happy to have you join us tonight. My name is Linda Lejeski, and I'm actually excited tonight. I'm usually just the welcomer, but I'm going to be a moderator tonight, so it's be a special night for me as well. This forum is a career services initiative created to connect you with industry pros, to connect our students, our graduates, and our extended community with those that are in a variety of media roles so that you have a chance to not only learn from the pros to be a pro, but you also have a chance to build a network and learn more about the areas of great interest to you. We are now in our fourth year of hosting these Be On Air forums, and I invite you to go to our YouTube channel and check out our library. We're really proud of the fact that so many industry pros have joined us along the way to share their expertise, and all of that information lives in our library for you to check out at any time that you might like. As you're looking at the screen, or if you're watching on YouTube down below, you can put your comments in the chat, and we invite you to let us know who you are. Give yourself a shout out, where you come from, what your email is. Let's build your network. These webinars are a great way to find other professionals and other people who are just getting started in the industry and grow collaboration so that you too can find your pathway to what it is that you're looking to do. So don't forget, use that chat because we're going to use it for Q&A as we get to the last 15 minutes of the webinar. Today, we are very excited. I have a drum roll, but I have no drummer here. To welcome, there you go. That's beautiful. Beautiful, Holly. Welcome back, Edgar Garcia. Edgar is very, very passionate about voiceover. He's been in the industry for 40 years. Just about 40 years. And we're really very fortunate, just about. I know the time goes fast, doesn't it? You turn around and you're like, oh my goodness, 4 decades have passed. How'd that happen? But you still look 20, so good for you. Share your secret later. Edgar is the director of education down at Miami Media School. So the students are really very fortunate to learn from Edgar and grow under his projects and be a part of the radio shows and voiceovers that he has available there. And he loves to share his expertise with our students and our graduates and anybody that's tuning in here. So Edgar is going to dig a little bit deeper into our program that we had a couple of weeks ago so that you too can grow your career. And along with my other moderator, Holly Wood, that is Holly's name. Let's say hello to Holly. Holly is an instructor, digital media instructor at Colorado Media School. I had the pleasure of meeting Holly when she was a student in school and watch her not only do a great job as a student, but develop herself and her radio personality as well as her digital media prowess. Holly also sits as the coordinator of our national digital branding team and is really a wonderful asset. The two of these individuals, Edgar and Holly, is really a hit out of the park. So we're happy that you're here and you're going to learn from them. And together we're going to do a deeper dive into helping you find your career success in voiceover. So I welcome you back. And for those of you who joined us a couple of weeks ago, if you recall, we focused on the basics of voiceover. We talked about creating a killer demo, and Edgar gave a lot of suggestions on how you could cultivate that demo. We talked about the importance of social media and branding, very, very important part of whatever it is that you're looking to develop, but especially important in voiceover. And then we talked about how to make a decision. Are you ready for an agency? Are you good on a voiceover platform? When to make that decision and how to use both of those to your advantage so you can be effective at what you're doing. So we had a lot of clatter as soon as that webinar ended of folks who are really interested in voiceover and really wanted to dig a little deeper. Edgar was an amazing guest. And so we're all back together again to talk on this subject, but dig a little deeper with a couple of added bonuses. So without further ado, Edgar, I'm going to let you take a few minutes and talk about yourself and your experience and perhaps a little deeper about what we're going to cover tonight. Thank you for being here, both of you, and all of you joining.
My pleasure. Well, Holly, Linda, thank you so much for the invite. To talk a little bit about me is to talk about voiceovers, basically, because that's what I've been doing for, as Linda put it, 40 or almost 40 years. It's been a ride, very interesting. I love it. Uh, it is a business that allows you to do so many things and allows you to be flexible as well. One of the reasons, and a lot of people, a lot of students here in Miami ask me, how do I do it? Because basically they kind of look at me and they see me here all day long. And aren't you working in voiceovers? Yes, I am. But I have so much time on my hands that I can do this as well, which is one of the perks of the job in itself. And I think that it's become something that allows people to do a number of activities as well as this one, because it requires a very little time in terms of the job itself that you're going to do. So I guess that I've been fortunate to be in an industry that allows me to be creative, that allows me to change every single time for every single project, because no project is the same, nor should it be approached the same way. And this is always or constantly asking us to improve ourselves and improve our games. Look, a lot has happened since I began, and for example, styles have changed dramatically. Look, I began around the probably late '80s, and voiceovers were done in a very different way back then. As a matter of fact, we were still in the analog world, and then we had to transition into the digital world, which was, something that we had to jump into because otherwise we're going to be left behind. And that's one thing that we have to always consider at all times. Technology is playing a very important part, and I want to talk about that extensively today, as long as time allows. But I will say that the more you're able to improve your game, the more possibilities you're going to have in succeeding in a business such as this one.
That's so awesome. We're really happy to have you. And I think what I learn as I'm in the school environment is that many people feel like, oh, I just want to do voiceover. And there's so much more to it, right, than just having that dream of doing voiceover. So it's a profession, right? Would you say it's a profession, and you have to develop it that way, Edgar?
A lot of people tell me, students here particularly, they tell me, do I need that voice, that big boomy voice?
Mm.
And I say, look, it could become your worst enemy nowadays. That's how much this thing has changed,
Mm.
because agencies and clients all over the place are looking for the guy next door, not just those big James Earl Jones kind of voices or Morgan Freeman's. Those are voices. Those are unique voices and one of their kind. But basically, the more you're able to adapt to this, and the more you're able to provide a voice that really stands out just by being yourself, you're going to be doing a lot of things in this industry.
That's excellent advice. I seem to hear that in radio also, which is, to some extent a form of voiceover, right? That they're really not looking for on-air personalities that are showy and big. Everybody's looking for that conversation with their neighbor, right? So that
Yep.
they can grow and develop. So, I think no matter what it is anybody's doing, to keep that front and forward, right, is going to always benefit them. So, Edgar, there were so many things that we talked about ahead of coming into this, and I know we're going to dig a little bit deeper into the actual demo and the platforms and different tools like teleprompting. Where would you like to begin?
Look, I think I would like to begin where we left off last time that we were here. I was talking, and I did a lot of talking about a website called voices.com. There are a number of websites that do these, or they're called marketplaces for voiceovers, which I think is a very important tool that you guys can have. Anybody aspiring to get into this business should go into these places and learn how to use them properly, because those are the one places that I think will be the starting point of anything. I've seen people trying to get into agencies. If you're not that seasoned, if you're not, if you don't have the necessary experience, you're not nothing's going to happen. It's going to be a huge waste of time. So voices.com to me might be one of the vehicles that you guys can use. So let me just change this to another screen here. It's going to be one of the vehicles that you guys can use to improve your game and to understand how this works. Because basically what happens is, and a lot of people think that, okay, how do I do this? Let me share my screen real quick. Now I lost my, okay, let me go back here because this is not my element. Okay. Share screen. Okay. So I'm going to go here. This is a website that allows us to have basically producers and voiceovers from around the world coming together to do one single thing, which is doing voiceovers. Well, how do I do that? How do I get into this? You have to create a profile, evidently. And the profile has some tips that I want to give you guys so you understand a little bit more how this is going to work. For example, I have this.
Edgar, I'm sorry to interrupt. Are you feeling like you're sharing a screen right now? Because we see you. We're not looking at anything.
You see me.
Different.
Oh, well, we started with the wrong foot then.
No, not at all.
Stop sharing. Let me see, because I think I did the right thing here. Present. I'm sharing screen. And give me just a second here.
That's fine.
Oh, I see what's going on. It's supposed to be this one. Okay, it's supposed to be this one, and I'm sharing. Can you see it now? Nope.
No.
That's weird because it's telling me that that's the one that I'm sharing.
So
let me see. Let me try again.
Let's see if I
go here and then I go here. Let me see if this one works. How about now?
I feel like it's, do you see it, Holly? I see it, but I don't see it up. I see it on the bottom. I apologize, everyone. We're technical difficulty, but
as usual.
That's all right. I wonder if I'm okay. How about this? It's small though, isn't it?
No, it's way too small. They won't be able to see
okay.
What I'm trying to say here. Let's just give it another try and see if I can.
Let me do it.
Entire screen. Let me see if the entire screen works. It's not letting me. Let me see. It's not letting me. I don't know for what strange reason. I'm not, but I'm sharing. I don't understand why you guys can't see it. Let me take it back here. How about now? Nothing?
No.
You guys see it or still? You guys are unable.
Do you want to just navigate us
being done the proper way
through the landing page?
Well, okay. If you go to voices.com, Holly, if you can share your screen, I can navigate with you and kind of tell you a little bit. The thing is that we have to sign in, and it's going to take a while. But why can't I share? Jesus Christ, that was.
It could be moderator permissions. So I would just go through each little section that you see. But the one thing I can tell you of the conversation I was really, really digging and enjoying is how you were saying the voiceover stuff being so down to earth, because nobody wants a salesy thing. And if anything, this makes us look real.
No one wants that. Of course.
And this business is full of troubleshooting. So is when you get to that page, is they have a big old microphone on it, and I'm trying to make sure and then I was trying to present as well too. I think I might.
Okay. Let me know.
Let's see. Okay. I'm gonna have to get my fast fingers out. Oh, is this it?
Well, I can't see anything as well, so it's playing a lot of tricks on us, but what I will say is let's for the time being, let's forget about that and let's talk a little bit more about the things that we need to talk about. I would guess that when it comes to voices.com, the one thing that you guys are going to find on the profile is when you're creating the profile, you're going to find something really interesting, which is basically the ability that it has as a profile to add the different things that you're able to do voiceover wise. With this, what I mean is that when you're creating your profile link and your profile in any case, what you're going to find is that, for example, they're going to ask you, okay, what is it that you do? Because you have to complete your scales and you have to tell voices.com your client list if you have it. Okay. If not, don't be concerned about that. Okay. A talent description, really important. How do you guys see yourself as a talent? What can you do with your voice? And with that, what I mean is, can you do a funny voice? Can you do a romantic voice? Can you do a announcery voice? Can you do this? Can you do that? You have to put all that information in it. In the way of a story, I would say, I've been doing this and that, and I'm able to do audiobooks, and I do this, and I have this kind of voice and this kind of voice, and so on. So people can get a glimpse of what you can do and see if you fit into their project. Then there is an About Me section where you describe yourself as well. But where I want you guys to focus more is on the categories, because this information allows one of the things that voices.com has, which is called Voice Match, to match you with jobs. So you have to select the skills that you are able to provide. For example, you're going to find that you have categories such as animation, audiobooks, documentaries, e-learning, internal video, movie trailers, online ads, podcasting, radio ads, telephone, television ad, and so on. So you click the ones that you think that you can do. What happens with this, and this is really important, the search criteria of a producer, let's say that a producer is looking for a funny voice that can do audiobooks. If you have those two elements in your profile, there's a match, and you get the invitation to become, one of the voiceovers that is going to be auditioning for this particular project. So that will help you significantly. The more things you can add here, the more options and opportunities you might have to audition more. I would say that voices.com, for example, and any other, marketplace that we can find out there, Voice 123, Voice Bunny, and so on, will have possibilities of showing you guys a lot of auditions. I used to have a rate of auditioning around probably 6 or 7 times a day. It's really good, if you ask me. That you're going to get the jobs? I don't know. That depends on how you're able to understand what's being asked from you. But after you're done with the categories, then come the vocal characteristics. Voice gender, male, female. What kind of voices can you do, for example? And you have like 5 options here. 1, as a child, from 5 to 12. Can you do those kind of voices? Normally women can. So that would be one thing that you ladies can do. Teen voices from 13 to 17 years old. Can I do those? Yes, click on it. Young adult, 18 to 35. Look for that kind of voice that sounds around that age range, or middle age, 35 to 54. It doesn't matter that you don't have the age. Can you do the voices? Because the more that you add here, the more options and the more possibilities you're going to have. Senior, 55 and plus. It depends. Can you do an old man's voice or an old lady's voice? That's it, So the more you're able to add these things to your profile, it's going to be better. What kind of languages can you speak? And this is something interesting here because, for example, if I go into the languages that we have, which I have a bunch, you could also see that in English, you're going to have like probably 6 or 7 different accents. Midwest. California, New York, Boston, those kind of things. Can you do those accents? With this, what I'm trying to say is that the more things that you're able to do, the more things you're able to deliver, the more flexible you become and the more possibilities people will have to hire you because basically you're offering a lot more. And that flexibility is what normally producers are looking for. Then we have another thing that is really important. It says here, live directed session. It says, specify whether you provide live directed sessions and which software do you use. Okay, do we know about softwares to do these kind of jobs? Because there's one that is becoming the industry standard, which is called Source Connect. And Source Connect is the software that's going to allow you to connect to any part of the world and record in real time anything that you're asked to do. The good thing about Source Connect is that basically, let's say that we have an agency in Los Angeles. I'm in Miami, the agency is in LA. And we are in real time connected in a two-way connection. They can hear me, I can hear them, we can talk, we can discuss, they can direct me, they can do whatever the hell they want with me, and I can deliver whatever they're asking me to do. This is all happening in real time. And by the way, everything that you guys are doing in your microphone is being picked up on the other end by a waveform on Pro Tools, on Audition, or whatever software is being used. And by the time you're done recording, they already have all the material they need with the edits and all. So Source Connect has become the go-to tool for you to be able to expand your business, not only to just work in your hometown or basically nearby. No, you can work the whole world if you wanted to, because this has become the standard of the industry. Back in the day, and this has become a monologue, right, Holly?
Yeah.
You're good.
If you want to.
I'm going to ask you a question about Source Connect. Just a quick question.
Okay.
Is that a paid for service? And is that something that you would do right away, or is that something that you should develop yourself a little bit more before you wander into that service?
It's not that expensive, but it is a subscription. Okay. Mm-hmm. But believe me, guys, this has become something more affordable. Given the fact that we before had technology called ISDN, which was very expensive. Let me just say that our connection of ISDN was around $500 to $600, the connection only, because you required a very huge chunk of broadband to be able to do this. Nowadays, this has become something so small and so easy to operate that is now a subscription that's around $30, $35 a month. That's what's going to cost. They do charge for $100 for the subscription, whatever, and then afterwards you pay around $30, $35 a month just to have it. It is an option, but still, guys, again, this is only to be done if you guys are monetizing. Do not spend money on something that you're not still sure that it's going to be something that's going to return investment to you, because it makes no sense at all. But as you progress and you start getting into the fight of getting those auditions and being able to manage different auditions and getting a lot of work, that's when this thing becomes, something relevant. I'm just putting it out there so you guys know it exists. And this allows you to not just stay in where you are, but to be able to expand frontiers and be able to work anywhere you want. Now, what you have to do, having that kind of tool, is basically looking for the right representation somewhere else so you can get, or be able to work not only in the US, because I would go into Europe, look, you can go anywhere. And this kind of software will allow you guys to do exactly just that.
So the one thing I'm remembering from our last episode was a lot of people asking about voiceover sessions and voice acting stuff. How would you explain, like, just kind of preparing up to that point, or how do you groom a character, or how do you prepare your voice for a session?
To prepare a character, because I'm going to go with that one, Holly. To prepare a character, look, I don't consider myself a voice actor. That's something completely different. I had the discussion with one of my students here in Miami the other day, and he was under the impression that should he be called a voice actor, should he be called a voiceover? Which I told him, look, for your characteristics, I would call you a voiceover talent, not a voiceover actor. To prepare a character, what you have to understand is, first of all, who you're talking to. Who's your target audience? Look, guys, this is not just reading from a piece of paper or reading from a screen or a prompter or whatever it is. You have to understand what you're going to be communicating. And the first thing that you got to do is basically analyze the script, understand where it's going, understand which are the words that need emphasizing, because not everything needs emphasizing. Just words that carry actions, descriptions, things of that nature are the ones that I need to push up and expand inside the read that I'm doing. So if I understand exactly who I'm going to talk to, if I understand my target audience, if I understand the product and what the product is looking for, I will know exactly what kind of voice I'm going to use. Sometimes you'll have the music, and the music is really helpful for these kind of things because the music kind of gets you to the tone that you need to work with. But in any case, if you don't have it, and I will say, to be honest, 90% of the times I don't have it. I'm working on the blind because all I get is a piece of paper. So I have to understand what the hell I'm going to do. Mm-hmm. And if you know exactly who your target audience is, if you read the script and you understood exactly what the script is trying to do, and then you go into the weird directives that are given to you by creatives, you'll be amazed of the things you can do. I'm going to give you guys a quick example of what a direction could be in real life from the auditions that I get. I'm going to pull up one just to make a point here on how you guys sometimes have to think and try to adapt the voice to something like this. Let me see here. We're looking for a Latino male voice actor for whom Spanish is his first language. Okay, no problem there. He will come across as knowledgeable, trustworthy, delivering the facts about EVs, electric vehicles, with an optimistic and friendly tone. They're telling you something there, right? He is the voice of reason with an easygoing demeanor. His delivery is never academic. We are looking for talent that sounds in its 40s. Our voice actor must have range, being able to add some gravitas when needed, or a smile when delivering humorous lines. A rather neutral Spanish accent is preferred. Okay, now guys, put a voice to that.
Do it. Oh, you want me to do it?
No. I'm just saying, put a voice to that. It's not easy. It's not easy.
No. Even like, so hearing like the gratitude part, and then everything, like, we don't want to sound salesy. And what was the last particular part?
Well, it says a delivery that's not academic. Okay, I can get that.
Down to earth.
Talent that sounds in its 40s. Okay, let's look for a voice around the 40-year-old guy that they're looking for. See, he must have range and be able to add some gravitas. So they want a voice that goes deeper to sound older or something like that. But it's a lot of information for just one voice. And that's where things get complicated for anybody working on this. Look, this is
how long do you have to perfect it?
The faster you work, the better, because there's a lot of people doing this. And for example, let me give you an example with voices.com. Voices works really fast. When I received an invitation for auditioning, I read the audition, I understood what they wanted, then I got up, I walked like 4 or 5 steps to my recording booth, I went in, I connected myself again to voices.com, and by the time I was doing that, already 12 people had already responded to this casting. So it's telling you that I'm already on number 13 in the line. And that is, taking away possibilities, because people nowadays move too fast. And producers, just by listening to 2, 3, 5 seconds of you, they'll know if you're the guy or not. So this goes real fast, and you have to move fast. So in any case, when it's a big project or you're working for a big brand, I would do probably 14, 15, 20 takes if necessary. And sometimes I'm not even happy with none of them. So I go back again to square one and start doing it all over again. It depends on the size of the project. It depends on the speed of the project. But you'll get all that information here because you got deadlines. But the turnaround times have to be fast in this industry. We just don't have the time to, Yeah.
I'm curious if for somebody who's just getting started, do you recommend that they let somebody listen to it? If there are different takes to give opinions, or just go on your gut instinct?
If you're in the starting stages, I would definitely recommend to go and get some appreciation from someone else that knows about this. If you have that opportunity, if you have those kind of connections. If not, you can go with your guts. What's going to happen is that you start feeling that sometimes if nothing is happening, no one's calling you back or whatever, you're doing something wrong, obviously. So try to change. How can I change this? And how can I make it sound different? Let me, for example, grab one script here, and let's see what I can do with it. This is the one that I chose. It's in Spanish. No, this is not going to work. Let me see another one here. Dos X.
Oh.
Dos X.
Sorry.
Okay.
They've got some classy stuff.
They found their voice, and it sounds loud and clear. Let's just focus on that phrase. They found their voice, and it sounds loud and clear. What if I do this? They found their voice, and it sounds loud and clear. Instead of they found their voice, it sounds loud and clear. You see how I did something to the loud and clear, and then it played with that. It makes you sound more conversational instead of reading. People can sense someone reading a mile away. So that's where you got to get as far away as possible from. Don't read, act, and just live it. As a matter of fact, if you could memorize the words, even better, because it's going to sound more natural. Again, with the phrase, they found their voice, and it sounds loud and clear. They found their voice. Now it sounds loud and clear. They found their voice. Now it sounds loud and clear. And I can be all day doing different variations of this phrase. And the reason for this is that sometimes when you're recording, the sound engineer might ask you to do something we call an ABC. Bank of America, the best bank in the world. Okay? The ABC of this would be Bank of America, the best bank in the world. B, Bank of America, the best bank in the world. C, Bank of America, the best bank in the world. And D and E and F and whatever. You change the emphasis here and there on different words to make it sound different. Why am I doing this? Because I'm giving the client options to choose from. That's what gives you versatility. It's not just a read by itself and that's it. And let me do it 20 different times the same exact way. No, what you have to do is try, okay, if I did this one this way, let me do the next one where I can feel the difference, that I'm doing something that's completely different from what we did before. And so on with the next and the next. So the more you're able to master this technique, you will be able to achieve differences in your tone of voice and be able to deliver something a little bit or a lot more interesting to the trained ear of a producer or a client.
So I have a question. You've raised a million questions in my mind, but the one I'm thinking of is, if let's say you're on voices.com, would you get sent a script, or are you're creating what you're going to read?
No, you get the script sent to you. When you get an audition, you will get the possibility, first of all, to tell the client what can you offer, what kind of equipment you have, your rate. Because again, when you get something from voices.com, for example, you will get a budget. Normally budgets in Voices or in any other will be around $500, $1,000. But again, I've seen projects go for $1 million. I've seen projects. I did one maybe a week ago. I still haven't heard from him, by the way. A week ago, it was around $90,000. So you get stuff depending on the size of or scope of the project. Big things, small things, it depends. But it's volume that you're after. And by volume, what I mean is practice. Because the more you're able to do and the more you're able to audition, the more experience you're going to get out of this. So yes, you're going to get a script from them, and you will be able to then let them know, okay, if you have $500 for the budget, you're not going to be able to cash in $500, because now you have to take into consideration that your liaison, which is voices.com, is going to take a 20% cut out of that. So then it's about, okay, what offer can I make the client? Let's say I want to charge him $400, and let Voices get away with the rest, with the 20% that's left out. Now I'm competing by lowering my rates, which is kind of something that we have to be very careful of, because what we don't want to do is what's happening, for example, with websites like Fiverr, where you can find services for voiceovers for around $5 to $10. That's insane, because it's creating a problem in the industry so big that basically people don't know exactly how much can I charge for something. Do you guys know your worth?
Well, that's a good question. Why don't you share that talk? Because that's important for any beginner, right, to understand that.
Look, the worth of a professional, we have rates. I'm not going to lie. We have rates. And when it comes to that, what we can see out of this is that, and let me see if I can go back to Voices and find a rate sheet that they have, which guys can go, by the way, and you can see the rate sheet. And the rate sheet will tell you, for example, non-broadcast jobs, then broadcast jobs for radio, broadcast jobs for television, broadcast for websites. And you'll see how these prices go up depending on the geographical reach that your voice is going to have. And this is something that people don't ask ever when it comes to knowing what's your worth. Because I can come to you, and this is going to happen to you guys in any given moment. I'm going to come to you with a check, $1,000. Okay? Here's $1,000. Can you do this 30-second commercial? You're going to say, yeah. But nobody's asking the question or the questions that you need to ask, which is even more important. What are you going to do with this voice? Where is it going to air? For how long it's going to air? Nobody asks that. Everybody's paying attention to the check. And sometimes people think, and this is a misconception about the business, sometimes people think that they are paying you for the recording session. No, you're not getting paid for the record. The recording session is a given. And I'm going to give a very simple example that I always tell my students here in Miami. If I'm getting married and my soon-to-be wife wants to have a guitar player of some kind playing in the reception, I'm going to hire the guy. I think that the least thing that the guy can do is bring with him a guitar, right? because it's a given. I'm not going to pay for the guitar. I'm going to pay for the guy to perform. That's exactly what's happening with us. I'm getting paid not to perform, but to allow the use of this voice, which is a creative property, outside the scope of where I am, the studio, I mean. So every single time that you guys are confronted by a client or a soon-to-be client about a project, please ask him, what are you going to do with this? How long is it going to be? 30 seconds, 60 seconds, whatever. Because the price just keeps growing. Let's say, for example, this commercial, you're going to record once. This commercial will go TV, radio, web. If I'm going to charge $1,000 for TV, it's going to be times 3 because it's 3 different media. People don't know that. And that's where money starts, growing and growing, because the more you're exposed, the more you have to get paid. So it's not about the session itself. The session can be also charged. Yeah. Session can go for around $250 an hour or something like that. But that's chump change in terms of what I can do with the rights of usage of said voice into the airwaves in this particular case. So we have to understand that it's not just about recording something. It's about knowing exactly what you're going to do, because hear me out, guys. Let's say that I do McDonald's and I charge McDonald's, I don't know, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 for a commercial. That doesn't come, for free, because you're going to have to sign a release form. That's a contract, and you're bound to that contract. So it means that for a certain amount of time, I cannot work with anything considered competition. Mm-hmm. And you might say, okay, I cannot do Burger King. No, I cannot do Pizza Hut. I cannot do Arby's, which has absolutely nothing to do with what McDonald's does. But they are called fast food. So you're blocked out of the fast food industry for a certain amount of time. You have to know what you're doing. Because
so,
you're going to be...
I'm sorry. You give me a lot to think about here, because, most everybody that's on is looking to get started. So if you're looking at a voiceover platform, if you're looking at voices.com, there may be large accounts such as those that you could qualify for.
Come again, Linda, because it kind of cut off a little bit when you were...
Yeah, no problem. So what I'm wondering is, like on a platform like voices.com, okay, are there contracts that are super big like that, or is it a different type of contract that's
It's
available?
A different type. Mm-hmm. It's a different type, because there's no exclusivity rights on voices.com unless it is, specifically outlined there. No, depending on the size of the contract, you're going to have those exclusivity rights or not. Normally, the jobs that you're going to find on voices.com don't come with that problem, so you can do whatever the hell you want. Mm-hmm. And it, again, voices.com is about volume. When we work for agencies with the big brands, that's where things change, because we need to have contracts.
More to negotiate.
And we need to know exactly what we're signing.
Absolutely. So, and they aspire to get
you don't want to.
Go ahead.
No. Continue.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking, more so for the entry level, and I think what you say is very important, understanding where your voice is going to be used, and, how it's going to be extended, maybe from that thing that you record and they pay you for it. Where is it going? Those are important things to be aware of. As somebody is just getting started, Edgar, and they're perhaps going to voices.com to put their different voices in, should they be considering all those things, or are they really looking to grab the opportunities that might come along to them based on the voices they can deliver?
They should grab the opportunities as they come, but they should also know this, because this is going to happen in no time. Mm-hmm. And if you don't, you're going to mess up. And believe me, guys, you don't want to be sued like I was twice because and that was back in the day. I had a lot of work. I didn't even remember what the hell I was doing. So I recorded something. I may be doing, 2, 3, 4 national commercials per day. So I lost track of what I was doing. So then I had a Burger King and a McDonald's on the air at the same time. That is a problem.
Sure.
Because ethically, you cannot do that. And then I got sued, and it is a mess, and you guys don't want to be there. So what I'm trying to do is warn you of the things that may happen. This is not just something that you do reading a piece of paper and that's it. No, there are legal implications on what you do, and you have to know them. Of course, voices.com will give you the opportunity to start up your business. Yes. And you grab whatever the hell comes your way. Be my guest. That's the way it's going to go. But as you progress, you will start seeing and looking at different options and bigger projects. And that's where things get tricky. That's where you have to know all the things that we've discussed so far.
Yeah, it's excellent advice, because I think in almost anything that our media graduates or community gets involved in, oftentimes, you hit the nail on the head. You know what you want to do, but you really don't understand the whole industry and what you're responsible for and not responsible for, what's a business and what's a hobby. These are things that are so important to listen to an industry pro that enlightens you about these various topics. And I believe, as you say, the more practice and the more you're on something like voices.com, the more business you're going to attract. And you want to know where you're headed. It's very, very important.
You got to know. You got to know. And it's something that everybody here needs to understand. This is not easy to do, and it requires a lot of patience. And I think we discussed that on the previous webinar. But again, if you are able to persist on what you're trying to do, and if you're able to analyze what you're doing, and if you're able to critique yourself and improve the game as you go, because you recorded something, you recorded A, and A is different from B and different from C, you're going places because you're understanding what you need to do and you're understanding how to work with your voice. And with that is when you start doing a number of things with the voice that are going to become relevant to producers, which are the ones that are going to be looking for you guys in a certain way. So we need to understand that this is something that will take time. Normally, when I'm confronted with people here or working with people here would be the better term, I tell them, look, I cannot make miracles. I cannot make you a voiceover in 8 months. It's not going to happen. You will get, a lot of tools to understand what you have to do. But then after those 8 months, you have to do your own thing to grow. There's no other way. Nobody told me how to do this. I had to learn on my own. I had to study how to use my voice. Yes, I had to do that, which is something that I strongly recommend to whoever wants to deal with this in a serious manner. It's like singing. You need the training to be able to breathe correctly, because if I made an experiment here with the people that are listening to this webinar, I might find myself with 100% of people right here that don't know how to breathe or have incorrect breathing techniques, which is going to hinder in a big way whatever you're going to do in terms of voiceover work. Or don't you think, for example, that when we are working alongside another colleague, I don't notice in a split second that the guy doesn't have a technique? Of course we do. So does a sound engineer. So does a producer. Everybody knows. So we need to have those elements in place to be able to achieve something that is really professional.
It's amazing. Like I listen to you and I think absolutely voiceover, it's almost like being an athlete, right? You really have to get conditioned and you really have to practice and where your breaths go and how you take your breaths. It's not for the faint of heart. And so, Edgar and Holly, you have all those studios in the school. So anybody that's on here, that's a student, they should be practice. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Practice.
All the time. What I will say is that the more that we do this, the better we're going to get. And don't take it for granted, because I once did it and I started, slipping down big time. And that was a wake up call for me, because you kind of start doing everything the same way over and over again. No, that's the worst thing you can do. Always we have to, be attentive of what's going on out there. I listen to commercials every single day. Instead of listening to radio programming, for example, in my car when I commute, I'm jumping to listen to the commercial breaks, because I want to listen to what the other guys are doing. And look for new techniques, look for new trends, new things that are going on that maybe I'm not even aware of, and let me see what people are up to, what ideas I can get from what I listen to.
That's another great topic. Thank you so much. Is there a place that our folks could go to see trends in voiceover? Is there, are there focus groups that talk on these types of subjects? Because as everything, it evolves, things continue to evolve. What would be your recommendation?
I would recommend workshops such as this one, and there's I haven't seen, at least in my journeys around the internet, I haven't seen something that kind of deals with that in particular. But there are a bunch of things that are going on YouTube that you can find. There is a girl called Stacy Aswad, which you guys should check out, because she has a podcast and it only talks about voiceovers, and she brings, interesting people on board, and they talk about how the business works and how they do this and how they do that. I think that would be a good place to start looking at things, and from there on, you can start, looking into the internet and see what you can find. But no, I haven't found, a place as of now that will give you specifics on it. Edge Studio, which we commented about on the previous webinar, is also a really good place. And by the way, let me tell you something. Voices.com, circling back again to the previous thing, Voices.com does have a lot of information about, for example, what kind of studio should you have? Mm-hmm. What kind of investment should you make to have a studio? Because I could build you a studio with less than $1,000, and you're going to sound professional all the way. Because you don't need, for example, an audio booth, a recording booth. If you have a walk-in closet at home, you just got the booth. Mm. So the cost is absolutely zero. And all you need is a laptop, a good mic, and that's it. What kind of mic? I would strongly suggest a USB mic instead of an XLR mic, because it's not necessary for the time being. And you can get the job done with just that kind of equipment, a laptop, and the mic. But again, you can find on Voices a lot of information and a lot of videos that are going to help you guys understand a little bit more about mic positioning, how to do this. There are rate sheets there that you could check and know at least, and hear me out with this. Rate sheets, for example. Rate sheets, all they're doing is showing you the bottom prices. From there under, you shouldn't go. From there up, it's up to you, depending on your experience and what you can offer. But it gives you kind of a starting point to know exactly what you're worth, depending on the case that you're confronting in terms of reach, time, and the amount of media that's going to be used or employed in this particular project. So there's so many avenues to explore. We could be here talking for days about that.
We're so lucky for everybody who's on board that may have joined us. We're here with Edgar Garcia, voiceover artist, 40 years of experience. And, we're coming close to the end of the hour. But I'm curious, Edgar, as we talk about, knowing your value, what about the person that's looking to do voice work, for a radio station or a new business, or to cut a commercial or a promo, and they're just getting started and they want to get their foot in the door? They've got a couple of things perhaps in their portfolio. How should they be pricing themselves, or what things should they be considering to get started?
A demo tape in itself is a very important thing to have, and I would say that when you're doing a commercial demo tape, it's a commercial demo tape, and it should only have commercials. But when you're going to go to radio, for example, you should have a completely different demo, and this demo should have basically what the radio station expects from you, which is, for example, DJing songs, reading the news, doing the weather, doing traffic. What else?
PSA, whatever's going on in the
conversational, community. Those kind of things. Mm-hmm. And again, on a radio demo, we can go beyond the 1 minute mark. We could go even to 2 minutes or something like that. But we want to show the full scope of the things that we're able to do radio-wise for them to be able to consider, okay, this guy can do it all, so it could be a good fit for the station. If you are applying for a station in particular, read the station, understand the station, the personality of the station, and then your voice should go along those lines into the style of the station. Not just, a generic demo that you're going to send out to every single one. No, create a demo specifically for that radio station, even with the dial position of the station or name.
Very good.
That should be the best way to go.
And again, is your name at the beginning of that demo or at the end?
At the end. I sincerely think that it's a way. Look, nobody's slating these days, and every single time that we audition, the first thing there's two things that we normally get on an audition. One is no slates, because it's a given that they know who I am. Why? Because the way that I'm uploading my demo is specific to me and only to me. So they know who that was. Second of all is basically the one thing that they always tell me on auditions: non-announcery voices. We don't want the guy that talks like this, like the Oscars. And no, we don't want that kind of guy. It's boring, basically. So what you got to do is basically be you.
Be you. Isn't that so funny? People spend so much time trying to be somebody else, where the real winner is right there. Like, you don't have to look any further. It's right there. That's great advice. We're getting close to the end of the hour. And so we don't really have many questions. You've done a really nice job talking. I think I would be curious. We talked briefly about teleprompters as we started, and I know that's probably a long conversation. But for somebody who's doing script reading and trying to record at the same time, what's your recommendation?
There are several out there that you can find, but I've grown fond of one called Easy Prompter. You can find it on easyprompter.com. You basically sign up. It's free, so no worries there. All you have to do when it opens, all you have to do is copy and paste the script that you need onto the interface. Select start, and your screen immediately turns into a teleprompter, and you can move. You can adjust the speed. You can adjust the font size. You can do it, all sorts of things with it. And to me, it's one of the best tools I have for doing my work. I use it every single day because it's more comfortable instead of reading from a small font. Well, I'm getting old, but basically, to me, it's more interesting. And by the way, guys, it gives you also the possibility of practicing how to read from a teleprompter, which is not easy in a certain way. So easyprompter.com will be the go-to place for that.
I love that. Hey, I have to share a little story. In Cleveland, we had a celebrity on campus that was doing teleprompter work to put some drops together. And this guy's been in the industry for such a long time. And you know how many takes? We did multiple takes with the teleprompter, because if you've never used a teleprompter, you need it to go at a speed that you're able to follow, right? And especially if there's a video, you want to be able to keep your eyes in the place you want them to be when you're delivering. So even that, like, that's there to make your life easier, but it takes practice to be successful.
As usual.
Yeah, as usual. Yeah.
But the prompter is a great tool that everybody should, start using. And remember something about the prompter. You're going to see a small arrow that, by the way, on Easy Prompter, you can adjust on the top or on the bottom of the screen. But what that arrow really means, if you're on TV, is you should be reading the line that is exactly at the level of that arrow. So the job of the teleprompter operator should be to have those lines fed to you in that speed that it allows you to be there. Why? Because that's where your eyes are going to be, and that's what the lens is. The lens of the camera, I mean.
It's good advice, because like even me, I'm looking at the comments as I speak to you, and I could see I'm like looking everywhere, right? So knowing where that place is so that you're very engaged with your audience is so essential. It all comes together, guys, right? Like it's not one easy piece, but when you practice all the pieces together, you become successful. So
That's correct.
we're at the end of the hour. Is there a final thought, perhaps advice now that we've come this far?
Look, the advice would be, I would say, know your worth. I think it's really important. And look, a lot of people, a lot of professionals that I've talked about this to, I've noticed that a lot of people don't know about this. A lot of people don't know how much should I charge for something. And again, we're at the beginning stages, and it might look like I'm talking as a seasoned professional, but I'm talking about, you know, the beginning stages as well. Because if you don't know, you're going to get ripped off. Believe me. A lot of people will be able to flash that check in front of you, and you're gonna bite. And it's not about that. You got to know exactly what you're doing, and if you know exactly what happens with your experience and how much your experience might be worth, you might be getting, you know, a lot of satisfactions out of this business. It's something you can live out of. Believe me, guys, I've done it for more than 30 years. And it's possible, but it's not easy. And specifically in a market such as the one we're in, which is highly competitive, we need to be at the top of our game at all times, because otherwise we're just going to be put aside.
It's awesome advice. And be responsive. I think, you know, we spoke about that too as we wrap things up. If you see something, don't put it off till tomorrow, unless you need to practice in order to do it tomorrow, because for your put off, right, there's so many people behind you who are jumping in line. So, you know, be like Nike and just do it. I think. Hey, Edgar, thank you so much. Holly, thank you so much for joining us. And to everybody that's here, you know, Tony does such a nice job shouting everybody out, but I know that we had folks here from all 7 campuses, our Ohio Media Schools, Illinois Media School, Colorado Media School, Miami Media School. Edgar, I think that there was a nomination for some big award for you, because your students just love you to pieces, and they're so happy to show up and to continue to learn from you, your graduates. And so for everybody here, thank you, and continue to follow us. We have great contacts here in Edgar and Holly, so don't be afraid to reach out. And in 2 weeks, we'll be back with another topic. But let's keep learning about voice, because that's what you all would like to do. Thank you. Thank you, Holly, too.
My pleasure.
Yeah. Good night, everybody.
Bye, everybody.